Now, the Subway Final Word.
He's trying to find a way to slow it down, focus on making the next good pitch, and that hasn't happened with enough consistency at this point.
Another frustrating outing for Francisco Liriano today. Good evening, everybody. I'm Bill Phillips, and welcome to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you, the fans, into the conversation. You can get your opinion on TV right here every Sunday night. Let's get started by introducing you to tonight's three panelists. Afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mark Madden. Tribune Review columnist Dan Kovacevic, and Pirates beat writer Rob Beer-Temple. Welcome to the show, everybody. And tonight's big topics, the Pirates. Are you convinced they're making a move to be a contender? We'll talk about the futures of Liriano, Harrison, and Alvarez, plus some Penguins, and whether the Penguins should trade one of their most productive wingers. We start with the Buccos, a loss today, but winners of 5 of their last 7. Does this last week convince you that the Pirates are back to being a contender in the National League Central? Rob, we begin with you.
Well, I'm not sure I'm totally convinced yet. I really thought coming into this homestand that they needed to win 4 games, against the Orioles and Nationals to have a chance to stay competitive, because they're looking at a road trip now, 3 in New York, 4 in Los Angeles against the Dodgers, and then 3 against the Padres, who have given them trouble, given them fits the past 3 or 4 years. So I'm not ready to say that they're in it yet. At the same time, I'm not ready to start burying them for the season. I think what we see the next couple weeks is going to make the difference.
Dan?
I'd like to say that they are, but we're looking at a team right now that's still 5 games under 500. And, the loss today, I think you can look at the series overall and say, well, they took 3 or 4, that's nice. But the loss today, specifically with how it happened, with Francisco Liriano struggling the way he did, with him not having his stuff, with his inability to even get lefties to swing and miss, man, that puts a big damper on the whole thing. Because if there is no healthy and vibrant Francisco Liriano for the rest of the season, there most certainly is no contention.
Mark?
I agree with Rob. I think this 10-game road trip is going to say a lot about the state of the Pirates. But before the season, I predicted the Pirates would win 84 games. I'm sticking with that prediction. And if they win 84 games, they'll narrowly miss the playoffs. And if they narrowly miss the playoffs, all y'all going to be asking, boy, what if they had promoted Polanco? What if they had kept Burnett? What if they had kept Morneau? What if they had spent some friggin' money? You're going to ask that question later. I'm asking that question right now. That's why I'm a super genius.
Mark, Dan, Rob, thank you. A reminder to keep the comments coming, and you can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. Mara is talking about the Pirates and if they could be a contender. She wrote, they got to put a little more heart into the season, then yes, they could be. But right now, it's not looking so good. Thank you, Mara. Sticking with the Pirates and the troubles with Francisco Liriano. It's Memorial Day tomorrow, and he has 0 wins. He said in his postgame, I'm not doing my job. But what should the Pirates do? Should the Pirates have him skip a start, move him to the bullpen, trade him, or do nothing and let him pitch his way out of it? Dan?
Well, I would say let him pitch his way out of it, unequivocally. It's a topic of the column that I have running in tomorrow's Trib. Clint Hurdle has stated emphatically, super emphatically, that he's not taking Liriano out of the rotation. That's not part of his thought process right now, and it shouldn't be. This is their most talented pitcher, and we saw last season when he's on, he's one of the 4 or 5 best pitchers in the league. Again, if you throw him out of the rotation, you also are basically punting on the whole season. That can't happen.
Mark?
First off, Bill, I loved Mara's tweet. You gotta have heart, miles and miles and miles of heart. The siren song of the truly uneducated sports fan. Just try harder, everything will be okay. As far as Francisco Liriano goes, what choice do they have? What are they gonna cone Compton? There's only so much Compton to go around. The Pirates screwed up when they didn't keep Burnett and when they trusted Rodriguez. And as far as Liriano being great when he's on, he's not been on all that often throughout his career. What we're seeing this year is more typical Francisco Liriano than what we saw last year. But again, the Pirates simply do not have a choice. You got to keep pitching him.
Rob?
If he's healthy, and that's something at this point they have insisted that Francisco is healthy. Put the nosebleed in St. Louis aside, the groin injury in spring training, say all that's in the past now. If he's healthy, then yes, you have to let him work through it. And the question for the Pirates is the same one they faced with Wandy Rodriguez. Can we afford to give him the time and space here in the major leagues to work through his problems now? With Wandy, there was too much work to do. He had to go. With Francisco, if they let him go, I agree with DK. They're punting on the season, so they got to give him the space in the rotation to figure it out right now if he's healthy.
Rob, thank you. The Pirates head to New York for a long road trip starting tomorrow afternoon. Brandon Compton will pitch. We'll continue to talk baseball next. Josh Harrison has had an amazing week for the Pirates at the plate and in the field. Should he be an everyday player? Danny said make Jay Hay the starting shortstop. The panel debates. We'll have your thoughts in just 2 minutes on the Subway Final Word. Don't go anywhere.